Whoops. Oh, man. Doing any nice Father's Day things today?
Running around to a bunch of places.
Yeah.
Much so effectively, it makes a novice detailer look like a professional.
Is that an ad?
So you can get away with a lot of things.
I don't know.
Yes, Aaron, that's
Can't
an
you just,
ad.
does everything have to be a spit take with you? Like you're always stunned. Oh, just say, yeah, it's an ad. You don't have to like look at me like, oh boy, you're a dirt boy. Just say, yes,
Well,
it's an ad. Well, no, this is a character flaw. I'm trying to help you out. I want you to be a better person.
I don't want to be a better person. I don't want to be the person you want me to be.
Oh, trust me, you do want to be that.
No, I don't.
You
We're
definitely
not
need to be
loaded.
that. You don't have to like look at me like, oh boy, you're. Okay, we got a good signal, so we should be good to go. All right, man.
You know, should I be?
You should be on Mud Mountain. You're on.
No. I know that. Should I? I always come in as night and staff. Should I log in as the Amigo guy?
You could do. Yeah, you could do that. That's up to you, man. Shut down my window. 'Cause I'm
Just I know some people don't know my account at all.
Look right here. Turn that down.
I didn't see what it was.
That was us streaming to ourselves on the TV. That's
Yeah,
like,
don't do that. That's
That don't need no favors, does it?
now I am Amigos Retro Gaming.
Very good.
Hey, Samwise.
Some stuff cooking here.
What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm not. You don't have to worry about what I'm doing. I'm just.
You know, wait. Why does everything have to be a spit take with you?
Listen.
Why don't you
listen.
just-
Hold on a second.
Just if
Listen,
you're doing
hold-
something, why don't you just
hold
tell
on a
me what you're
second.
doing?
I've done because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I was doing a series of things. No, please. I'm begging you to not be jerky today. I've had a heck of a week.
break.
You need to be nicer.
You need to be less sensitive.
I can't. I've been beat down.
Well,
I thought we already covered Alien Fish Finger. Oh, Boat did it. That's right. Boat did a boat play on it. Not drinking.
yeah, don't do that. That's not a good idea. You're not gonna try to read this from there, are you?
I can read this. I can read these fine. No, I hadn't thought about doing that. I could, but now I can read them. We got 2 reviews this week.
Yeah, it's just you got to obviously
I got
make
my
it
phone.
larger.
I got my phone's got it though. I'm not gonna read off that. It'd be too hard. Go and get that up, ready to go.
I'm going to hopefully be less coffee today.
I would hope, yeah.
No promises. But I'm going to try.
You're gonna replace the coughing with sleepiness.
Not you. I got a decent amount of
You
sleep
just
last
yawned.
night.
You just
No, I
yawned.
didn't.
You did. You
No,
just did.
I did not yawn. Seriously.
Do I need to rewind that?
You have to turn off Discord.
Huh?
You have to go off of Discord, or it's going to make that noise the entire time.
I didn't think. Did I leave it up? I guess I did. There we go. 1 hour to go. Here it was.
What?
Bright lights, big city.
When does John get back from the beach?
Today.
Okay.
Man, we got good reviews this week for both shows. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Dark Tower in the box.
I replied.
Ours would never be that. It was never that good looking. Probably the day we got it, it wasn't that good
Well,
looking.
we played the heck out of ours. The Dark Towers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we played the heck out of them.
Sometimes we even play the actual game as opposed to just jacking around.
I would just play the game with the tower, not pull the board and stuff out. I did that quite a bit, actually.
Man, you should read this thing, Roller Rose. This guy's like the professor off of the Gilligan's Island. That's what he reminds me of. Yeah.
I read his reviews. Did he send something else?
Oh yeah, this is talking about the N64 chipset and stuff.
Oh, okay.
He's a freaking.
I haven't seen that one.
He's a freaking genius. I could read that and just do nothing else.
You gonna leave your N64 on?
Wait, my little setup here. I'm gonna say. Okay.
Hey, lunch of the free variety. So confused.
What's wrong?
I don't know.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be the bomb.com.
You're heading to Mom and Dad's?
Well, Mom wasn't feeling well when I talked to him last night, so I don't know if she's gonna actually have a little shindig down there or not. Okay, no problem. So yeah, I mean, I got Dad a cool gift. I think I told you what I got him. Dad came to Luke's ball game, and he took a deck chair to the ball game. It's one of those plastic chairs off the porch.
Right.
So he leaned way back, which is stupid. He leans way back in this thing, and it breaks it clean. And it wasn't because he's fat, or it's just a crap chair.
Yeah, those are old chairs.
So I went over and got him a real nice, expensive, like it holds 600 pounds, like a director's chair that folds up. It's got a little tray that comes off the side.
Free lunch. The ARG is on N64, and the Amiga is on. We'll be following this show, and it's on a no second prize.
No second prize.
I always want to say no second place.
Had some great groovy tunes.
But
there.
okay, Dad broke chair.
So I went and got him a nice, not super expensive, but it was expensive. It's probably the most expensive chair you can get. It's like a director's chair. It folds up like this, and it'll hold 600 pounds. It's got a little tray that folds off the side.
Can he get out of it though?
Yeah, this is a lot easier to get out of than what he was getting before. But the other one, it was plastic, so when you try to push it on the arms, it'd be like, brrr. This one, it's all steel, brother, steel, American steel.
Very good.
Yeah. So it should be good to go.
Oh, we're over. We got to roll.
All right, you ready? All right.
Let's see one of those N64 controllers.
Yeah. You want the Pikachu or the other one?
Give me the green one won't show up, so.
Oh, that's a good point, man.
Oh, this is actually, yeah. I'll need this for my presentation.
Okay.
Let me try it once to.
Make sure you get it in there. Wow. Smooth as silk. As smooth as a velvet child.
This. Okay.
That's a Rumble Pack / memory. It's crap. I'm saying.
Okay. Let's do it.
Oh, that ain't good. Hello? Oh, thank you, little buddy. Thank you for wishing me Happy Father's Day. That's awful nice of you. Are you...
Yeah, because no one wanted to hear the conversation, regardless of
I
the
thought that was a
sweetness
sweet
factor.
moment. Here you come to edit it out.
That's right.
That was my son wishing me Happy Father's Day, everybody. All right, you ready to go? You didn't answer. Oh, that explains why.
Wanted to cough some more. Cough some more. All right.
You ready? We got to give it a few seconds. Here we go. Boink. Hello, everyone. Welcome to an analog and digital episode of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who, much like the N64 controller, is shaped awkwardly and hard to handle. We call him the Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going okay. It's going okay. How are you doing this morning?
Still a little under the weather, but getting there.
You've been sick for like a month. See?
So we're going to try that one again?
No, we're going to keep the ball rolling. So, if you joined us last week, we spun the wheel and we made the exciting deal. Did we not, Brent?
We did.
And this week, we'll be playing games from the venerable, weirdly shaped, semi-popular N64. Now,
it was an odd time for Nintendo during the N64 era.
It was an awkward, I don't want to say adolescence, because this would be sort of like your young adult era for them. What did you think about the N64? Now, I know you were a big fan of the machine, weren't you?
I was. I thought they had a lot of good games that came out during the era, and it pushed a lot of consoling into a future direction with its 3D, a lot of its gameplay. A lot of the games on the N64 are first for video games. There are several firsts, throughout all of it. Mm-hmm. So,
on consoles, anyway.
That's correct.
So, when the N64 came out, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't into it that much, and I had my various reasons, which I'm sure we'll get into. But at the end of the day, it's a system that does have a library that contains several very unique N64 only games that are still popular.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is not the N-Gage or something. I mean, it was a pretty popular machine. In fact, I did a little research into the N64. I thought we'd have a little chat about it here before we kicked off into the games.
Okay.
And then some of this stuff's pretty widely known. Some of it's kind of wacky. So this game system was developed under the name Project Reality. We talked about this when we covered Killer Instinct. This was the moniker that their Ultra 64 was another one.
Ultra 64, yes.
These are monikers that we'd heard about as this thing was in development for quite a while, didn't we?
It was. And it went through a lot of changes before we got to what we know today.
Right. So, now get this. This was released in Japan June 23rd of 1996. It didn't come to America until September 22nd, and officially was released on the 29th. And same in Brazil. And in Europe and Australia had to wait a good while. This wasn't released over there until March 1st of 97.
Yeah, it's
Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
That strikes me as, I mean, we see that occasionally with these, that where you get these things launched late. Now, in the U.S., this was launched at $199.99. Now, the funny thing is, Nintendo had planned on launching the N64 at $250.
Yeah.
But what happened was their competition all dropped their prices to $199. It was, I believe, it was a PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. And so Nintendo didn't want to get left out. Of course, these are systems that have already been out for a little while.
Very little while,
and Nintendo didn't want to get left behind, and so they launched at $199, which is $325 in today's money. You know, $199 for any of those three consoles is a pretty good deal.
It's a steal.
It's funny when you look through Nintendo's history of releasing consoles. $199 seems to be the magic number to release that on those things. So this thing ran for a good while. Its official lifespan, 1996 to 2002.
Wow.
April 30th.
I didn't realize it ran quite that long.
Yeah. They manufactured them that long. So let's talk about some of the oddities of the N64. The first big oddity is that they decided to release this game in a world that went CD crazy.
Yeah.
They were the lone holdout and decided to use cartridges again. Now, one of their main reasons behind this was load speed. That's one thing they often tell. That's what they said. What do you think about that decision? Because ultimately, I think that decision probably, in some ways, doomed the console to only a limited amount of success, given the competition.
It made games way more expensive.
Right.
And I think that hurt the Nintendo a lot. It was unfortunate that they never brought any kind of CD add-on or really launched with a CD at all. I understand their fear, their load time fears, which I believe that is exactly why they did it. I think they certainly had the technology, but they wanted games to be snappy and fast.
Do you really think that's why they did that, though?
I do. Yeah. At least I think that's some of the decision. Excuse me. I think they're falling out with some of their partners also. Force their hand.
I've got a suspicion that the main reason they went with cartridges was to maintain a certain level of control over what's on their machine. I think that's you talk about the old Nintendo seal quality, the lockouts.
But that was gone by then.
It was much easier to control the cartridge supply than it was the CDs. I mean, think of the limitations that a cartridge gives you. It limits your storage space. It limits your ability to stream music off the disc, or video. There's a lot of things it limits, and so and inherently, at the second that this thing came out, it was obsolete. It had been left behind. It doesn't matter that the chipset on it and the ability to render were made partially irrelevant just due to the fact that it was behind everyone else when it comes to storage.
I understand what you're saying. I don't fully agree. Staying with cartridges also allowed them to add chips to certain games and advance the technology of the console that way. Also, Nintendo's their own beast. They really go with the flow, or they don't go with the flow. They do whatever they want, and that's been true throughout their entire history.
Well, I think sometimes it works for them, and sometimes it works against them.
Sure.
I mean, it's funny. You've got the success of the NES, then you've got the Super Nintendo, which was also very successful. This was sort of Nintendo. Of course, you got the Game Boys as well. This was a major. This was not the runaway success that they had found in the previous generations, and it also. They were in there with some double stiff competition this time around. It wasn't like they were just taking on Sega. When Sony entered the picture, you've got a real big player.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't. They didn't lose this round of the console wars because their quality dropped. Their quality was just as solid as ever. Just the opponent's quality got better.
I think their potential dropped just out of the gate. Listen, the N64 is not a wimpy machine. A lot of people are misunderstanding.
No, it's got plenty of power.
Right, but cartridges were greatly limited. Now that much said, in the retro community, which we're a part of, its star is on the rise and has been for several years. And number one, it's a Nintendo system. Number two, it's cartridge based. It's the last of the red hot cartridge based machines, and so that gives it a retro feel that people enjoy, I think. And so you're going to get a lot of action on this. Now, let's talk about the controllers for the N64. These controllers were bizarre. I remember the first time I saw them. They have a trident shape to them. We've got analog and digital, which was right there at the beginning of that being a thing.
Yeah.
And you've got that trigger at the bottom. I mean, it was a Swiss Army knife of controllers, wouldn't you say?
It was something that was very intimidating.
Yeah, it was.
Even after you played it for a couple hours, it still felt weird. In the end, it was actually turned out to be a very competent controller.
I disagree. I never liked this controller.
Well, I think that means you didn't play it enough.
No, I didn't like it. I've never liked it. But I will say this: the funny thing about the N64 is a funny machine, especially as a collector, because I've got a couple of them, and the EverDrive, the whole 9 yards. The one thing that the controller did do was make it so you're not really going to play in N64 stuff on other machines, or emulate it to an extent. You can do it, but without a proper N64 controller, you lose quite a bit. I mean,
you can play. There are certain games you can play with one type of controller, and then certain games you have to play with another type of controller if you're emulating. I will say that.
My biggest problem with the controller, I have two. I mean, the concept of it is sound, I think.
Yeah.
But number one, the little yellow buttons, those suck.
Those should have been just normal buttons. I agree.
They were put in there specifically for Mario.
Function.
Yeah, and I hated the way they felt. It felt, and the controller in general had a kind of it didn't feel cheap. It just felt poorly designed to me. The second problem I had with it was, while it did bring on the analog sticks are no good. I mean, they are the dirt worst.
No, I disagree with that.
I was just playing some Coco just the other night, and Coco has analog joysticks, and the feel of those, and people make fun of those, the old Black Beauties. They're way more responsive for analog sticks than what's on N64.
Now,
I don't like those.
I'm going to say something you're not going to like.
Okay.
Okay. I think that the nuanced controls behind N64 and up, really, because the PlayStation has the same sort of analog controls.
Oh, they're way better.
They're tighter.
They're way better.
I think it just, if you don't play on these type of controllers a lot, you don't get the feel for the analog.
I'll agree with you, but the analog's no good. I think
it's fine.
And that's something else that has marred these is as you've got a system here, and you had one of the controllers there, and you said the controllers for the N64, they don't age well. That analog does not. I mean, even if it was super tight at the beginning, as the years have worn on, they get real loosey goosey.
Well, you have to. It is true. N64 controllers, you have to go in, you have to clean them. You have to open them up and clean them to keep them in decent functioning order.
Like I said, given the choice, I mean, if you look at the way Nintendo designed the N64 controller, and you compare it with, say, the DualShock controller for the PlayStation, Sony, to their credit, did a masterful job designing those controllers, because they're effectively, they're mostly. I mean, you can see what Nintendo was going for, where you could hold it three different ways. It is innovative. But it's ultimately, that was the thing that really turned me off on the machine, and that's turned off a lot of people. I mean, there are people that are cheerleaders for that joystick, but I'm not. I'm
not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it was one of the best joysticks of all," because it wasn't.
Plus, it's really heavy, and what makes it heavier is when you put in the expansion packs, the rumble packs, the memory stuff. That thing gets real heavy in your hands after a while. It's a load. It's almost like the Duke. It's heavier than the Duke for the Xbox. I mean, it's a monster joystick.
Well, okay. Now let's not get silly.
You think the Duke is heavier?
The Duke for the Xbox was a horrible joystick. It was way worse than the N64
I'm not comparing them quality-wise. I'm comparing them weight-wise.
I still think the Duke was heavier.
Trying to think which one was heavier. I think
it was close.
It depends on what you have stuck in the N64.
Exactly. With a rumble pack, I would say the N64 controller is probably close.
Do you want to guess on sales figures? Now, I've got a breakdown here But do you want to give me a worldwide guess on these? We can talk about whether we think this was a success or not.
I will say 16 million.
You're way off. Way off. So in Japan, this sold 5.5 million. The United States and South America and all the that area, 20.63 million. Europe and Australia, 6.75 million, for a total of 32.93 million consoles moved.
How can you not deem that a success?
Well, if you compare it to the PlayStation, it got mashed.
Well, no.
No, I mean, I mean,
but that's insanity.
We always thought at the time, and I think you would agree with this at the time, you would consider this a not a failure, but a misstep, a misfire for Nintendo.
Okay, you're looking at it wrong.
Okay.
Was it as successful as the Super Nintendo?
No.
No. Was it still successful though? Yes. You can't sell 30 plus million consoles and not be successful. That's a success. It's just not the success that they are used to.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of the wacky add-ons. Now, I actually have an analog steering wheel for this, and it occurred to me after I played the game. I was like, man, I should have fired this up on the steering wheel. Probably been a lot of fun. My game. The steering wheel is pretty good. You've used it. And then we also, of course, you've got some crazy stuff that was released over in Japan. You've got the floppy drive.
Yeah.
You've got the mythical CD-ROM that we all heard so much about that never came out. Stuff like that. I don't think you got the wide range of peripherals for this. Just again due to where it was set in the market. I think also that when Nintendo stuck with cartridges, they sort of miffed off some of the third-party people.
Well, but I mean,
because
they still had tons of peripherals.
A lot of the standout titles for this are all made by Nintendo. A large portion of them. I mean, the ones you go back and look back and remember. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. The Nintendo properties were all over this thing. And we probably should mention Mario 64 as a landmark achievement in games.
Revolutionary.
I remember when we first saw this, it was quite astounding, wasn't it?
It was breathtaking.
Yeah.
Breathtaking.
Fun to play.
Absolutely.
They managed to get there. And it's funny, as the years have went on, I occasionally will hear of people that don't like this game, which I can understand, but I mean, really think it's a garbage game. And I'm always like, wow, that's
impossible.
Well, I mean, if you look at it in today's eyes, I can see where you think you could get that, but I mean, this was quite a big deal back in the day.
Excuse me. Anyone who looks at Mario 64 and says, this is a crap game, is letting their bias step ahead of their logical thinking.
I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one. Now, as we're speaking of these games, I want to go over a few things I thought you might find interesting. So I got a list here of the launch titles for the N64 in various countries. So in Japan, they got Pilot Wings 64, Saikoyo Habu Shugai, and Super Mario 64. All right. In Europe, they got Pilot Wings 64. They got Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, Super Mario 64. All we got was Pilot Wings 64 and Super Mario 64. So 2 games at launch here. And Pilot Wings, now you were a big fan of the original.
Huge fan.
What was your thought on the 64 version?
It was fun.
Was it as good?
It was, no, because they didn't do enough.
Yeah.
They just, made another Pilot Wings game. I really wish they would have pushed it more.
Now, just for fun, I also got a little printout here of the top 10 best-selling games for the console. I thought we'd run through them real quick. So, at 10, you've got Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
At 3.65 million. Star Fox 64 at 9, 4 million. Diddy Kong Racing, that was a surprise to me, 4.88 mil. Donkey Kong 64 at 7 with 5.27 mil. Number 6, Pokemon Stadium. God knows I've played enough of this game over the years. 5.46 million. Number 5, Super Smash Brothers. I think, was this the inaugural one or was there one for the Super Nintendo? I can't remember. 5.55 million. And then you get into the top 4 here. And these aren't a surprising bunch. Number 4, Ocarina of Time, 7.6.
This should be surprising. Number 3 is surprising.
Number 3, GoldenEye,
yes,
at 8 million. And number 2, Mario Kart 64, 9.87 million. And number 1, Super Mario, at 11.91 million. They were wise not to pack that in, weren't they? Do you think, or would that have made the console sell better? You've only got 2 launch titles, and you really had to buy something.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have been? Do you think a pack-in would have helped them? Because as I recall, this had no pack-in, did it?
They should have had
originally.
They should have had something, and they had nothing. So I'm a big fan of pack-ins. I don't necessarily think you have to put your best launch game in there, but you need to put something.
Well, so overall,
Pallet Wings would have been a great pack-in.
Yeah, well,
it would have been a great pack-in.
They needed that money, I guess. It's funny that.
Well, no, Nintendo didn't need money.
Nintendo went on. They went on to do the sequel to this, which was the GameCube. Yes. Which is another console that sort of ran right into the buzzsaw of your PlayStation 2 and whatnot. You were right in there, and another console that was looked upon as sort of a console that that underperformed. I would say even more so than the N64. Any thoughts?
I think it underperformed. Yes, yeah. It still was not a failure, of course.
Of course, we all know that Nintendo came roaring back.
Yeah.
Eventually, and it's funny how these Nintendo did not go the way of Sega. And I remember hearing when the GameCube was out and it was not doing well, I heard some of the same cries from people that I did when Dreamcast died. When people were just like, "Listen, you just need to be a software manufacturer." And I heard that about Nintendo. Little did people know that they were going to come roaring back and have the most successful console launch of all, one of the most ones of all time, and have all this money and have all this power.
You know the huge difference between Nintendo and Sega?
Yeah.
Nintendo sleeps on a big pile of money.
Well, there you go.
And I'm talking raw cash. I remember even when I was a wee lad, hearing figures of how much Nintendo just had sitting in the bank.
Really?
Also, as a company, when their stuff doesn't do well, they don't go and start firing employees or, cutting the riffraff. Their CEOs and their owners take salary cuts. And that's the way it has been for a long, long time at Nintendo, and that's very respectable. The people at the top know that it's their responsibility to get something good out there, and if it doesn't do as well as expected, they take the brunt of the blame.
There you go. So, with all that said, we were tasked with choosing games from a pretty good library of N64 games. Again, I was not a fan of it when it was out. I just thought it was just I didn't think it was a good console, to be honest with you. And I will say that as the years have rolled on, again, the popularity has soared, but I never was a huge fan, but I had one. I went ahead and got the EverDrive. As I go back to the library, there are things in there that I enjoy. Much like some of the original PlayStation titles that sort of dip their toe in the world of 3D. Some of these come off they're real ugly looking pieces of work.
You got to put yourself in the time.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. So, some people that's a thing that brings them down. So anyway, there was a couple titles I was interested in looking at, and of course I was really interested in the wrestling titles in this, which I played. They were my favorite on this. And one thing about the N64, it had the best wrestling titles, probably of any console ever released, which is always amazing. But I didn't go the wrestling route this time. I thought I'd go a little different direction, and so I ended up choosing Beetle Adventure Racing. Now,
yes, I was very stunned.
Were you?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that I actually like this game, and I remembered playing it a long time ago, and so I've had a lot of fun playing it again this week. So, this was developed by an outfit called Paradigm Entertainment, published by EA, and this was basically a title exclusive to the N64, which that does sort of surprise me in a way. This was released February 28th of 99 in North America.
Pretty late in the cycle.
Yeah, Europe got it September 4th, 99, and Australia got it, and also it just says 99. I thought this game was released much earlier than that. I was surprised when I did the research, because I remember this being something I saw a lot on the N64. I knew people that really liked it, and I saw a lot of people that had it, so yeah. I was kind of surprised it was that really.
I played this game. I played this on consoles back in the day. I can't remember if my friends had it or I rented it a bunch, but I've actually played this quite a bit.
Again, this was released by the Paradigm Entertainment. Now, do you know anything about them? I did a little research on them just for fun. They actually released and worked on a lot of interesting titles. They worked on Pilot Wing 64. They worked on F1. A lot of these are N64 titles. They worked on F1 World Grand Prix and the sequel. The sequel was only released in Europe. I knew that. I don't know why it came up on the other show. They did Duck Dodgers, Indy Racing 2000, but now on the PlayStation 2, they did a couple games that I didn't like, including that remake of Spy Hunter. That was them. So you can't win them all. But amongst the things they were working on when they finally got yanked and yoinked, they were working on a Pilot Wings 64 sequel.
Huh.
Which who knew that would have would have happened, but they were out of the States, and they sort of their thing was sort of work on the N64. They were right before they died horribly. They're one of the. It's the same sad story. I'm not gonna go into it, but they were around and they got bought and they got liquidated. The same old sad tale. So Beetle Adventure Racing for Paradigm. What is this game? Well, it's an odd title in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You race. There's a Volkswagen tie-in with this. This was right around the time that Volkswagen, the German car company, had came up with these new Beetles. VW Beetles, bugs, if you will, around these parts. And they were. This was sort of a tie-in with that. Now that in itself is goofy.
Weird.
You also don't think about these things as being like what I would consider cross-country races, although they sometimes are. The fact that in the game, really, you're only playing Volkswagen.
They're all VW bugs.
And so that's a strike against it right there. Basically, some of the cars have different abilities, but they're just different colored cars. I mean, you go through, they're effectively...
The model's the same.
That's right.
Pretty much. Some of them have spoilers, some
don't. But the
don't.
colors change. Basically, so if, the blue car does this, the yellow car does that, that's also goofy. And so this is one of those games that tried to straddle this line between... It was not a simulation, but no doubt. It was not, I would call it wasn't Mario Kart, although they did give that a shot in one of the game modes. It was a game that one would equate to, say, a Need for Speed style game with less simulatory.
Well, it's Rush 64. It's San Francisco Rush.
That's right, but I mean, there are elements in it that remind me of the graphics in it are not the graphical parts just don't remind me of San Francisco Rush. It's a little more. When they call it Beetle Adventure Racing, they're not kidding. I mean, you're going through all kinds of crazy areas. I mean, in Rush, you're going through like sort of like realistic areas.
Well, San Francisco Rush, even the sequels have you mostly racing in cityscapes, where adventure racing is not all, but mostly different land types. Snow, volcano, mountain, caves, that sort of thing. Right,
exactly. The volcano was particularly interesting. I like that. I like that track a lot. Now, there are things about this game, cars aside, that are interesting. And this is something I loved about this era, and the N64 was the master of this. A lot of their car games would have 4-player split screen, which was great. You had the 4 controllers, and this one did it as well. It's funny because you mentioned the Rush games. The N64 had all the Rush games. It had San Francisco Rush, Rush to Rock. It had
2049.
It also had that sequel like Rush 2, which was that's an underrated game. That's a lot. I almost thought about picking that one too. It's a lot of fun. But these games work well on this machine, and part of it's because again, if you get a good one, it's part of it is that analog control stick gives you a lot more accuracy, and they look good. And I will say, of all the Nintendo 64 games you could play, this one aged pretty well.
Yeah, it's still very playable.
It's a very attractive game. So again, you've got 4-player mode. You could also have 2-player races. 2 to 4 people can take place in this thing called Beetle Battle, which is sort of this reminds me of very similar to the battle system in 2049, where
or on sort of the arena modes for Mario Kart.
Right, exactly. You've got single player has 2 modes. You've got championship, and then you've got single race. They didn't reinvent the wheel here. You've got manual or automatic transmission, the usual stuff. when you start this game, you've only got access to 2 tracks, and you open.
You got to
more.
earn it, baby.
Yeah, you open more as you go through. You've also got different. You can change the way your race works. You can race one guy, a group of guys, or have a time challenge if you want to go that route. Sometimes it's fun just to turn off the other guys and just kind of go through and play and just kind of look at the scenery and have a good time.
Well, and there's a reason to do that, too, because this game has so many little collectibles and bits that you get that help you unlock more stuff.
Yeah, there are point crates that hang around. First of all, as Brent said, we should get into what this game is. So it's a racing game. You control the Beetle, and you go on these exotic tracks. Much like San Francisco Rush, there are hidden shortcuts that you can take to, and not only will they give you a jump ahead of the other racers in terms of where your position is on the track, but sometimes there's often hidden in those are point crates, and so not only will you get to go to the shortcut, you'll get points, and that's fun. And I think they did the shortcuts. Now I know you're a San Francisco Rush maniac.
Yes.
How do you compare and we both know they did a great job in that of placement.
Yes.
I think they did a really good job in this. What do you think?
For the most part, it does well. Now, something with this game is there are alternate paths that are not shortcuts. They are simply there that if you have a lead, you can take this and gather up more points.
Right.
Even though that the segment of road that you want is longer than you would go on the normal track. I think some of the shortcuts in this are too well hidden to find unless you go into the adventure, the single player mode, and actually just drive around. Because some of them are just, solid textures that look like walls.
Yeah.
And you have to run into them to find out that, this is breakable. Most of them make sense, though.
They'd be like a closed up area with boards across.
Well, no, those make sense. But there are also some that are like sheer pieces of ice that on a snow level that just looks like the side of a mountain. You never know it was there until you kind of veered into it. And that's the well hidden ones are kind of rare. Mostly they make sense. They have paths that go to them. So I think they do a really nice job. And also the shortcuts, as they should be, are normally harder to navigate, but will give you a shorter section of track so that you can, if you do it well, you do get ahead.
It's fun. One thing I like about games like this, and this is an instant love for me because I'm like you. I really like these games where there's hidden stuff. You've got that fly by the seat of your pants feeling when you're careening down one of these shortcuts for the first time. It's a lot of fun. And a game like this comes alive with multiplayer, which I've played in the past. It was a lot of fun. If you play the championship circuit, you get 3 circuits at the beginning: novice, advanced, and pro. And then there's a secret. I didn't know this. There's a secret circuit, the 4th circuit, the bonus circuit, and you get that for unlocking the other circuits. I've never even come close to doing that. There's also 2 special vehicles you can unlock: an alien VW Beetle and a cop VW Beetle.
Yeah, they're still all Beetles though.
Yeah, there's no kidding. Aside from the point crates, you can also find nitro crates.
Yep.
You'll find these scattered around, and they give you a boost of nitro. What do you think about using the crate system for your nitro boost?
I think it's really well done because they allow you to chain them together. They're basically boost pads. What most games would have just on the ground with arrows that when you drive over them, you go faster. This is the exact same concept. Being crates, they're a little bit harder to hit, which means it takes a little more skill, but they do chain together to give you when you hit them all, it's very satisfying.
Now, here's something I didn't know until I read this, and I've never had this happen, but I'm sure you have. There's a 4th crate in the game called the cheat crate. Have you ever hit the cheat crate? If you hit the cheat crate, it's hidden on each stage. I've never seen one.
Okay.
If you hit it, you hear someone go groovy, and it unlocks a cheat menu, which offers cheat codes. And also in the background of it, there are all the developers' faces. I actually looked at video of this, but I've never actually seen the
I don't
cheat crate.
recall messing with those, but I'm sure in my youth, because this was a game that we really played to death.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Now, here's something I didn't know either. I thought this was kind of interesting. So this game was released, like I said, all over, but in Australia, it got a different name and a different car.
Yep.
It got the HSV Adventure Racing. That was the name.
Yep.
Exact
same game.
It's the exact same. Well, it's not totally exact. There's one other slight difference. So I don't know. I've never heard of the you see how I'm doing that? The HSV Commodore. That's the car that you get in that one. So I guess I don't know if they don't have Volkswagens down there, or they don't.
No, both games were available.
Well,
it was just that one was in Australia.
You can't play that one anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
it was an Australia.
From what I read,
exclusive.
one of the major differences, aside from the way the cars look, is the fact that the HSV actually can go faster, and they actually up the speed of that one. The vehicles are. That's what I read.
I haven't heard that.
But
I haven't played the game. So.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of neat. Something else I didn't know, they had proposed a Beetle Adventure Racing 2, and it was in some stage of development, but it never came out, probably because
the downfall
writing was
of
on
the
the
car.
wall, at that point.
I'd say a lot of it was the car fell out of popularity, which means the brand
jazzy sort of thing going
on. They're jamming tracks. They're not great, but they keep you motivated.
It was the music was composed by a fellow named Phil Western, Scott Blackwood, and Brendan Tennant. It's got a happy, upbeat. It fits the brand.
Yes.
I think nicely. This is one of those games where if you expect a serious racing game with legitimate crashes and that's what you're not going to get.
No, it's
this
not
is
a
strictly
simulation.
as light, fun game that you go out and just have a good time. The quality of tracks you have to win, like Brent mentioned, to get more stuff.
Yeah.
But you will win races, even if you really suck. Like I said, now let me talk about something I don't like about the game. The music can grate on me occasionally, so there's that.
Yeah, because it's okay, but it's not great.
I think graphically it looks great. I think it aged well. I wish you had different cars. I think that's a bummer. I'm sorry. I'd like to. You always see Beetles. You're driving a Beetle. There's too much Beetles. Jesus, Volkswagen makes other cars. You can at least put something in there. Where's the? You know what I mean? Give me something else.
That's never bothered me.
Well, it bugs me. There's no customization in that crap.
No. No car damage.
The Beetle battle mode. Have you played that much? It was okay. I tried it out. I hadn't played it that much, to be honest with you. It's funny because we play on 2049 is the battle mode, me and Luke. But
this one is the battle mode is you're supposed to go around and collect beetles, like the actual bug, and you have to collect 6 of them and get to the finish line. But there are weapons, so it's a different kind of battle mode. I mainly did racing for this.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
95% of the time.
I'm pretty much the same way. The critics on this game was actually pretty critically praised.
It should be.
Metacritic, and Metacritic, which is an amalgamation of a bunch of critics, 90 out of 100. EGM gave this a 9.125 out of 10. That's a very exact score, isn't it? Game Informer gave it an 8 out of 10. Game Pro gave it a 5 out of 5. GameSpot, I guess they didn't pay enough, but they still got 8.5 out of 10. IGN gave it a 9.1 out of 10, and Next Gen gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Those are, even Nintendo Power, 8.5 out of 10. These are pretty good scores.
Oh, yeah. They're great scores.
Across the board, man.
Well, it's a really good game.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is that surprises me is that not only did this not get a sequel, but that you don't hear much about this title. There's a certain set of people that know about it, but very few people I talk to have ever mentioned it. And I just think, like I said, it's not a deep. Maybe it's I don't know if my European friends feel about this. I like my racing like this. This is sort of the way I don't want to go any deeper. Generally, because then it gets too complicated. I have to worry about stuff. I just want to run around and have a good time.
Well, I think 2 things plagued this title.
Yeah.
Being on the N64 exclusive was one.
The
second was it's a branded title that if you aren't interested, if you're not going to go and find out what the game is about, you're never going to find out that it's a good game. Yeah. And if you aren't interested in Volkswagen Beetles, you're not going to look at the title. You're just not going to care.
That you're right. I didn't think about that, but
the branding really killed it.
Yeah. If you're looking to eBay this, you can get a loose cartridge for this thing cheap. I saw them go. It was under $5.
Wow.
And then
$5, guys, go buy it.
box copy, $20-$30. That's a no-brainer in my world.
Absolutely.
You hop out and get that thing straight away. I mean, $5. Now, if you've got a multi-cart, that'll work too. This is one, if you haven't tried it, man, I'd give it a shot. Now, we got a couple reviews sent in this week. Our good old buddy Graham W. Webke sent in this review. A game sadly missed by many who played the common N64 racers like San Francisco Rush or World Driver Championship. There are 6 tracks, all with many shortcuts, collectible, and challenges, and the visuals are fantastic, even better than some earlier PS2 games. That's true. When I play this game, I get absorbed in its gameplay, its music, and its sounds. And you at times forget you are racing in VW Beetles. To add to the racing mode, there's a battle mode with different tracks, weapons, and a capture the flag event. And bundled together makes this one of the best N64 racers, 9 out of 10. And he also mentions that this also got the HSV Adventure Racing release over there.
Yes.
Another one of our buddies sent in a review of this one. Roro, Beetle Adventure Racing. I adore this game. But it is in that class where I'm not sure if I could ever manage to complete it again. A spot it shares with Blast Corps. The handling model is challenging, but when steady playing, it becomes very much manageable and predictable. It strongly rewards course learning, which all those games are like that, aren't they? Something that is evident early in careful racing lines to boost items. So you can tell right here, Roro already like the racing lines and stuff. For me, it's crazy time all the time.
Oh, okay.
The Egyptian level has a vital shortcut, for instance. And even then, I did not find it especially easy to achieve the results required. That's one of the reasons I never got to see all the tracks, by the way. Completing the game was amongst my few gaming achievements, and the haunted house was possibly not quite as bad as I feared. That's a hidden level. So he goes on to talk about the possibility that he had trouble because of the latency on the LCD, which that's true. Graphically, I thought it was a beautiful game and reminiscent of aspects of Pilot Wings 64. The game desperately needed a sequel for GameCube or a very late N64 iteration, which I agree, but sadly, that never came.
Never happened, yep.
So I think universal praise, and I'm guessing you're going to fall in line with that.
Absolutely. It's a great game. I don't know. I'm not going to... I can't put it above San Francisco Rush, and there's no reason for it.
I like it
It's
better.
a game just as good as San Francisco Rush. I think I just prefer the cityscape backgrounds.
Yeah.
I prefer the hidden areas of Rush as opposed to some of these which are a little too hidden. But not to take away from the game is excellent.
I like it better than Rush on this system. That's what I'm going to say.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
on this system. And I'm talking Rush, not 2049. Although I like Dreamcast Rush better. Okay, moving on to the main event tonight. Now, Brent, one thing I like about you is you always pick these inobvious, offbeat games that no one's ever heard of. You dig deep. You find these hidden nuggets, often garbage. And this week, you've done it again. Tell us about this oft-overlooked N64 title.
It is very rare that I get to talk about one of my top 5 all-time favorite games, and I could not pass it up.
Banjo-Kazooie.
I picked GoldenEye. Also, Banjo-Kazooie is far more known than probably even this game.
No.
GoldenEye for the N64, revolutionary in so many ways. Holy cow. There's no way I can do proper justice. And thankfully, there are so many articles and videos and press releases on this game that you can go back and read much more detail than I'm going to give. But I'm going to try to gloss over the whole picture of why GoldenEye was so important to gaming. Came out in August of '97, and it was produced by Rare. Rare at the time
Choked Brent.
was producing such high quality games. Before this, they had produced the Donkey Kong for the Super Nintendo, and Nintendo was so impressed they actually went to Rare and said, "Do you want to make a James Bond game for the Super Nintendo. And Rare was like, no. And it was so much to the point where they still took the opportunity, because you don't tell Nintendo no. But Nintendo was expecting a side-scrolling, in the same vein of Donkey Kong Country game. And of course, they didn't get that. Rare hired in some people who had never done gaming before, never written video games. Team of about 10 people. And they said, look, just do something with this, and our main team will be here to help you, but we got other things in mind. And this team said, okay, well, the 2D side scroller, that sucks. We're not going to do that. Let's start working on a 3D game, a 3D James Bond. And it was heavily influenced at the time of Virtual Cop. And they said, you know what? The team really liked Virtual Cop, and they liked aspects that, you could zoom in and take your shots, and the precision shots, and you could shoot people in the knee. That way you didn't really kill them, you just disabled them. And they looked at all that and they said, you know what, that's really neat. Let's make an on-rail shooter of GoldenEye. And they started going down that path, and after a while they said, let's let the player do what they want. Let's let the player go where they want to go, and see if that makes the game more fun. And it made it immensely more fun. So they said, this is what we're doing. We're going to make a first-person shooter in a time when you had your Dooms and you had your Wolfensteins, and everyone who wanted to make a quote-unquote first-person shooter made those type of games. Made a sprite-based world, and that was just what you had. This was the first game that had explorable areas in a 3D environment with 3D enemies that really let you go and do whatever you wanted to do. During development, they ran into all kinds of problems. The game was really buggy, really glitchy. And there were even times when Nintendo was like, you know what? We're not paying for this anymore. We're just... and they actually stopped paying for development.
Yeah.
Because they didn't believe the product was going to get anywhere. And because at this point, the movie had already came out. It was supposed to be a movie tie-in. So they missed that mark. So now they're just... Everything from this point on is just catch-up. We've got to get this thing out the door. So they took... Rare said, you know what? We believe in you guys. We believe in you, this team. And they kept paying to make the game when Nintendo had pulled funding. So they keep working on it, and they keep getting a little more advanced to get to the game where they are. And they released it, and they showed it to Nintendo. And Nintendo was like, "Man, this is too violent." It was like, at the end of the day, you should be able to, shake hands with your enemies and say that everyone had a good time.
Clearly, they'd never seen a Bond film.
Well, and especially GoldenEye being the highest body count of almost any Bond film ever.
I'll talk about that later.
So Nintendo was really leery of having this go out, and one of the ways that they kind of appeased Nintendo, and it was sort of an inside joke as well, was they, at the end of the game, when the credits roll, all of the bad guys, all the models are there, and they're kind of dancing and laughing, having a good time like nothing really happened. And that was because Nintendo came in and said, your game's too violent. You kill too many people. So that's why they added in that end credit sequence.
No kidding.
So Rare had this little package. It had missed its deadline for making the movie. In fact, the next Bond movie was already filming by the time this game got released to market.
Uh-huh.
They had ticked off Nintendo because the game was too violent, And they said, you know what? We have to release this. Let's just put it out there. Let's see how it does. And it sold like hotcakes. It sold. Nintendo didn't care so much about the violence after it passed up the sales records for the Zelda title on the system within just a couple months. And as you mentioned earlier, this went on to sell 8 million copies worldwide, making it the third highest selling Nintendo game of all time. Nintendo 64 game. So, at its heart, what do you have? What is the game? It is a first-person shooter based off of the movie GoldenEye. And when I say based off of, most movie tie-ins, you have one or two things. You put the main character into a game that has nothing to do with the movie, or you make it follow the movie real closely and the game sucks, because movies aren't games. The Rare threaded the needle somehow to make this very close to the movie, so much so that if you put scenes in the movie next to their in-game levels, wall textures are the same, colors are the same, backdrops are the same. Now, of course, it might not be as detailed and stuff like that, but it's all there. The whole package is there. When you are in the library, you know it's the same library as the movie because of different walls and rugs on the floor. It goes so far that the two levels that aren't in the movie, that are just added levels into the game, some people just want to skip them. They don't like them because they don't follow the movie. So they did a really good job following the scenes of the movies and makes it feel like you're playing an actual movie game.
If I could just pop in just for...
Sure.
GoldenEye, well, I'm a big James Bond fan.
Absolutely.
GoldenEye was a real renaissance, the series a high point. It's when Timothy Dalton had been replaced by Pierce Brosnan. By the way, Timothy Dalton was underserved with this script, but this came out, and this had an all-star cast. It was a great plot about the fall of the Soviet Union and how it would affect Bond, and it was a tremendous movie. It's one of my top couple favorites.
It's my favorite.
It's certainly the best.
Second favorite.
It's certainly the best of Brosnan movies by a long way. And so when this game came out, you're right. It came out well after the movie had came and gone. It's funny because GoldenEye's represented in both on the Nintendo. It's also got a very decent pinball machine that made after it. And I will say, when you start this game, I'm not great at this game, but when you start this game and you're at the Archangel Dam power facility there, and you're coming in, it was awesome. It was just like the film. I always wish that I could control these games better just to see how far I could get, so I had to go back and watch a lot of video. But I will give them props for following the film and doing a good job of adapting some of the scenes from the movie to play in the game.
Absolutely. Some other things that they did, which is pretty amazing, they are the first game to implement stealth. And what I mean by that is if an enemy is not facing you and you are behind them, you can shoot one with a silenced weapon, and the noise of your weaponry, if it's a silenced weapon, then enemies won't hear it. If it's an actual gun, it will attract enemies from other rooms to come and see what the noise is. This was the first game to do that. Some other things that it did that you don't even think about today, the zoom feature, when you aim, that it kind of zooms in on what you're doing. It's very much like Virtual Cop, where it did all that stuff automatically. This was one of the first games that let the user control that with the controller. Something that was a miss, but would have been pretty awesome, is they actually had it where to reload, you had to eject your rumble pack and then put it back in your controller. And that's how you reloaded your weapon. So it would be like you were adding in a new clip.
That's very clever.
I wish they would have had that.
But think about the wear and tear on your controller.
And Nintendo said no to that.
That's very clever,
totally
though, isn't it?
But that would have been really awesome to have seen.
Think about the amount of save games you'd be lost. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it, but
yes,
I hate it.
Yeah.
It
would have been a fun option.
Yeah,
but,
I love that.
Another thing that they had to overcome when programming this is they didn't have N64 hardware to make the game. They didn't have controllers until the very end of development. They were making all of this off of a modified Sega controller because they didn't know what the Nintendo 64 controller was going to look like, what it was going to be.
That's ridiculous.
They didn't have workstations. The actual programming things that you would program your N64 games, they didn't have one. They were programming on Onyx software boxes. And actually, when they went to the N64, it ran better than they were expecting. Now, all this is amazing. And I love this game. I love that you can shoot someone in the foot and make them hop, or you can shoot them in the butt and they do a little butt hop. If you shoot them in the head, it does more damage. All of that sort of stuff. Awesome.
You kind of shoot them in the hand.
Yes. All that stuff, incredible. The game has not aged particularly well. The frame rate was always low because it was pushing so much stuff. The polygons are all flat-faced individuals.
But they still, I mean, they got the point across. You know who the characters were in multiplayer, for example.
For the most part. We're going to get to multiplayer. For the most part. But the game, obviously, if you go back and play it today, can't have the same impact as it did back in the day because when it was fresh and new, this stuff looked great. But as you look at it now, it does look aged. It looks far more aged than your game does, for example.
Your game was a lot more. They were really trying hard.
They pushed a lot more stuff.
Yeah, that was a whole different type of game.
So the multiplayer in this was it? They had planned on having a lot of people say, "Well, multiplayer wasn't even planned on being on the game." That's only half true. They wanted to have some form of multiplayer in the game, but didn't think that they were going to be able to add it because they had so many other challenges to overcome. However, in the last 6 weeks of development, one or two members of the team added multiplayer, which ended up being one of the largest selling points of the game.
Yeah, that's sort of what the game was known. I don't hear a whole lot of people talk about the missions. Multiplayer is what you always hear about.
And it almost didn't happen, not because it was never planned, but because there were so many other issues with development. But it was added, and it was phenomenal. It was 4-player split screen, and let me tell you, brother, I played this game non-stop during my college years. We always had an N64 going with 4-player GoldenEye, literally 24 hours a day. You would have someone in there playing multiplayer on it. It was crazy. Another aspect of this game that still holds up true today is speedrunning. This is one of the most sped run games. Speed
ran.
There you go.
Sped run.
Of any game out there. And part of the reason why is it has in-game timers for all of the levels. It's a very solidly programmed game. There's not a lot of clipping out of bounds. In fact, there are virtually no clipping out of bounds in the game because it's very well programmed in that regard. So you'll have people finding new tricks to speedrun even today. Just a few years ago, they discovered that if you look down at the floor for the entire duration of your run on certain maps, you can save like a quarter of a second. And in speedrunning, that's huge. So now everyone's went back and tried to up their records to push the envelope to get that next higher time. So the game is still relevant even today in a speedrunning community. It's just, the whole package is amazing. Did you play this a lot as a kid?
I never played this hardly at all. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I'm not here to bury this. I'm here to praise it. I'll say that before I get into this. I mentioned earlier that I didn't like the N64 controller.
Yes.
And this game, if you'd been a PC person for a long time, this sort of game was well known. But on the consoles, it was not. And this was sort of the Doom moment on consoles in a lot of ways. I mean, this game, the multiplayer was something that was very unique. It had really not been done like this on a console. Again, on PC, we'd had this for quite a while. But on console, it was a whole different ball game. And so this gave the console kids a chance to do the multiplayer deathmatch stuff. And it took off. And as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Bond and GoldenEye. But really, this game, sort of, the license is almost irrelevant in a lot of ways to the actual multiplayer. Because the multiplayer, it's the actual programming, the way the game was made. They used a lot of care. That much said, I can't do jack squat in this game. I've loaded it back up. I can't get past anything. I just suck with the controller. I'm so horrible. Now, I know they've remade this game. They've done upgrades. They've done HD updates. They've done a bunch of different stuff to make it. And they've done PC dumps, and you can play it on your PC. But I played on N64 just because that's what I do. And I suck. I suck at this game. I wanted to be good at it. It looks like a lot of fun. And I can stagger through some of it, but I'm just not that good. I can get through some of the early stages, but I'm not that good. The multiplayer, I've only had a cup of coffee with it. I've watched a lot of people play it. Again, it's not. They didn't reinvent the wheel in multiplayer, but they did on the console. So I appreciate what it brought to the table. I thought the graphics are okay. I mean, this game is sort of the standard bearer for testing N64 emulation. If it can get this game, you're pretty much mostly good to go. That was what you always see this test. I've seen that opening stage of this game a million times because it's used over and over to test if the emulator is going to be able to process the N64 properly. I thought they did a good job. I mean, I look at this from a different angle than most people, which is the solo missions. I thought they did a good job in. They did Bond and GoldenEye. They did a good job with the license. They did a good job. It's a nice tribute to the movie, and so from that aspect, it's fine. I know buried in here somewhere is and this I remember
ZX Spectrum emulator with 10 games.
Yeah, which is kind of neat. That was something that you probably wouldn't expect to be in a game like this.
And the reason why I wasn't going to go into a lot of this, but I was going to mention the emulator. Before Rare was Rare, they were a company I cannot recall the name, but who made ZX Spectrum games, and that team would work 20 hours a day for weeks at a time, making these really polished, really beautiful Spectrum games. And when that team came over to GoldenEye, a lot of that team didn't work on GoldenEye, but the same work ethic, which really is far beyond what they should do, because you really start hurting your health when you start doing that kind of crap. But
it's nice that you care about that.
I do. I really do. But that team had the same kind of work ethic, and the guy that ran the original Spectrum stuff said, you know what? I'm just curious if we can add a Spectrum emulator to the N64. And they coded it into GoldenEye, never with the intention of releasing it. But when it came time to ship the game, it was easier to hide the code than it was to remove the code, and that's what they did.
We've got some listener reviews here. I'm even going to chime in one from our good buddy Chris Folds, who just simply said, GoldenEye was mind-blowing when it came out. Looking at it with today's eyes and no goggles, it doesn't wow, but the deathmatch is still solid. Graham W. Vebke, when first released, I played this almost every day, but looking back now, GoldenEye 007 has terribly dated graphics, and the aim mechanic is fiddly at best. That's true. The story behind the campaign is still appealing to those who like Bond movies, and the levels have just the right amount of difficulty and enough freedom to not make it feel like a linear campaign shooter. Multiplayer is another area where this game shines, and I strongly believe this game is in the top 10 most important FPS games of our time.
Absolutely.
8.5 out of 10. And lastly, Roro, GoldenEye is an immensely important game and pioneering. Yes. However, I think I'm in the lower quintile of enthusiasm, and on my last playthrough early 2006 was compelled to cheat to finally unlock Aztec and Mayan levels. Mayan Temple is brilliant and captures the Moonraker with such economy of polygons. I've only seen this. I've never actually gotten anywhere near that. The narrative aspect in an FPS was certainly a novelty at the time, and across Christmas '97 it was remarkable. Yeah. But I was in a sufficiently poor mood for much of that period that so I like how he's going into his mood during this time. And it was more of a general case of frustration. Natalia escort level is so demoralizing. So there's that. Multiplayer at the end of year 12 with school friends was quite wonderful. I remember it very fondly. He prefers Perfect Dark, but this was a stunning innovation. And Perfect Dark built off this in a lot of ways.
Yes, it was same team. Just to go over the reception of the time when this came out, nothing gave it below a 9 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
It was across the board praised. If you are looking to pick one of these up nowadays, the normal game you can get for about 15 to 20 bucks.
Yeah.
Really? And, yep. If you want a box copy, you're looking at about 35. And there is a not for resale version of this game that was demoed in a few, and that sells for around $300. Exact same game, just not for resale on the sticker.
A lot of these N64 games I've noticed are not super expensive. I mean, I know sure the rare ones are, but the ones we looked at. By the way, FY, if you're interested in picking up an Nintendo 64 console, you can get it for under $60 if you look around. You can get a boxed one from between $80 up to $220, depending on what the boxed copy is. You know, they're much like we just talked about last week. They had various pack-ins and whatnot. So, with all that in mind, you know what it's time for?
The wheel?
Let's spin this sucker. Now,
all right.
We did something we swore we'd never do again. We have reincorporated chat choice. So if chat choice comes up, it's instant chat choice time. You guys pick a system of your choice. This is not a subject, this is a system. All right, Brent, let's give this thing a whirl. And we've got, let's see what we got here. The Mattel Aquarius.
Oh, it's the Age of Aquarius.
It is the Age of Aquarius. Now that's interesting because I don't have an Aquarius, so we'll get into more about the Aquarius next week.
Yes,
that'll be fun. Now
that'll be fun to explore because I've never done anything on the Aquarius.
That'll definitely be different. So we'd like to thank everybody for joining us in the chat room today. Next week we will be tackling the Aquarius.
Yes.
Brent. So on behalf of my good buddy Brent, this is Aaron saying. All right, we're out. Rocket time.
Oh my gosh!
I want to say that your periodic choking enriched and the show and delighted the listening public.
We need a cough button.
No, we'd never hear you talk.
No, we seriously
need to go to the doctor. Emphysema, man.
No, it has nothing to do with that, man.
Listen, you need to go to the doctor.
No, I don't need to go to the doctor.
You've got to stop
not for that.
You got to stop smoking all these stogies.
Yeah, I wish,
my friend, because it's killing you. It's physically killing you. All right, changing gears. Sorry we didn't say hi to everyone in the chat, but we're running late. Although we got through that quicker than I thought. That's pretty good.
I would love to. I could probably do some whiskey about right now.
Whiskey in the jarro. I agree. Let me get my Amigos. Get the. This will probably be a shorter show than.
For those
usual.
Wondering, we are now going to do the Amigos show featuring no second prize.
That's right. I played this more than any man should. Man, we got a ton of reviews on this. Woof! Good God, almighty whitey, we got a lot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reviews on that.
Well, good. We just
that'll eat up some time.
Just put that on the screen. We'll just go home.
Yeah,
we are home.
Hello, everyone. Here's what people thought about this game. I'm glad we haven't talked.
Good call.
Because I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about this one. I'll be honest with you. We haven't talked about it at all.
You want to set this back over there,
yeah.
Aaron?
Well, how'd you think that one went? Was that okay for you?
Yeah,
I thought it went.
I never can get enough of my information in.
You need to do it. Bullet point it, man. That's what I do. I bullet point everything.
Well, and
see,
GoldenEye had so much stuff. So much stuff.
Hey, is Duncan Styles in the chat room?
He is.
Dunk, I when researching this, your article came up instantly. I always love when that happens. When I was like, "Yep, there it is." I remembered it too, because we actually played this on Amigathon a while back. All right, let me get my junk together here, and then we'll rock and roll.
Should have brought a brush.
Oh, are you kidding? You worried about your hair? Okay.
Wow, it's really pulled back today. All right, that's fine.
I think the last time we actually taped a show, we're going to cover 3 things from...
Well, it looks even worse. Well done, me. What are you looking up?
I'm just looking to see what Dreamcatcher's got up this week. I'm going to talk about this. Well, we'll talk about it. Look at one more thing here, and then we'll rock and roll. I thought you had a pretty good amount of information there.
Dude, and I only got to about 75% of it. There's so much about GoldenEye. There's so much cool information. How the team was formed. The whole story were rare. I mean, if you look deep and wide and far enough, you can find stuff, interviews with actual Rare employees at the time, and they were like, "Man, we don't want to do a GoldenEye game. Get that? No."
He's talking about a game I've never heard of for the Amiga. We're going to look into this one. He always does that. He's the master of finding these games I've never heard of. I'll give him credit. It was a game called Unreal on the Amiga that is not the Unreal you would think of. You know, oh boy, 2 movies. We're going to talk about these movies too. Hope you've seen these. All right, so we're going to chat about Amiga stuff just for fun too. And maybe we'll mix a little cocoa in there. I'm not going to do any news this week. So we'll just do that for both. I didn't see a huge influx of stuff. I had a couple people contact me with some stuff. We don't have an opening either. We're just going to do it. I mean, I'll do the opening, but you know how it goes. All right, you ready to rock and roll? You have any idea what you're doing?
Well, I should probably put away my GoldenEye information.
Say hi to everybody in the chat room.
Blow them kisses.
How we doing in there? Got anybody show up?
Enough for an ARG special. To be completely honest, Duncan, I could have filled the whole hour with GoldenEye stuff. There's so much out there.
He could have filled 2 hours with just continual coughing and gagging.
Yeah, sorry, man. It's not like you're some kind of no cough master.
I have never coughed or gagged during the show or rubbed my hands. I've never done any of that stuff. It's all, I am a pro. Bow, bow, bow. All right. Are you ready?
I begged you to just let me die. You want to do it?
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to rock?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Let's give it a few seconds here and then we'll do our thing. Please don't do that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Amigos, Everything Amiga podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm the Brent.
He's the Brent. The boat is luxuriating himself off the coast of South Carolina this week.
You know, he didn't even invite us.
He did not.
How does that make you feel?
And he has been sending back glorious pictures of him and his wife living like freaking king and queen. They're having fine times at the bars. They're on the beach. They're kicking back on the decks of stuff.
I found a nickel.
I know, man. Then the thing is, while they're out having all this fun, it's been the worst week. It's just horrible. It's been a horrible week. But today we turn things around because it's Father's Day as we record this.
Yes.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day to my pop, who's a heck of a man.
Not mine, though. That guy's a jerk.
That's right. Well, he did raise you, so he's not a perfect, that's for sure. Today on the Amigos, we're going to take a look at the motorcycle racing game No Second Prize.
What an incredible, awesome name.
That is a good name.
I love it.
It is a good name.
I was wondering awesome. Yes. No Second Prize. What an awesome name.
As you know from other shows that we may be involved in, I love cool names.
Yes.
And also, I like the people that publish this, but we'll get into that in a little moment.
Yes.
We're going to take a little time here to look briefly over what's been going on in the realm of the Amigos. We're going to start off what we do every week, which is take a catch up with our good buddy, the Dreamcatcher. Now,
yes.
The Dreamcatcher, and again, as I urge every week, please, I beseech you, check out the Dreamcatcher's YouTube channel.
He's literally 10 times better than us.
It's crazy time all the time. I mean that literally.
Yes.
The Dreamcatcher is crazy genius. And he looked at a couple games. I love when he covers games that are based on movies, and he's done 2 this week.
Okay.
He's got 3 offerings we're just going to briefly touch on.
Sure.
The first one is a little something called Don't Bother to Buckle Up. You may not want to survive this. Yes, it's an article on the game Cliffhanger. Oh. Now, Cliffhanger, the Sylvester Stallone masterwork that was released back in the day. Have you seen Cliffhanger?
I have not seen Cliffhanger.
I saw this years ago, and I've got to say, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I've got a thing for I don't know what it is about me. I'm the same when it comes to like radio shows or documentaries or whatever. I like Arctic adventures. I just do. I don't know why.
Okay.
Because I hate the cold, and so I can understand how sucky this is to be caught at the North Pole or up on a mountain or whatever. And these are the harebrained, idiotic adventures of a musclehead caught, trying to help people up on the mountain, basically. A dopey film. And the game, I remember when it came out, I don't think I've ever played this one, but I remember when it was released, it looked not that great. It didn't have a great rep. And DK delves in this. Of course, the movie, it's like when you base those old, like you see a lot of C64 movies or games based on TV shows, and the ZX Spectrum has them too, on these cheesy movies and TV shows, and you're always, there's part of you that wants to play them because the movies are so stupid, and the game is some kind of jacked up, rushed out platform garbage.
As most of them are.
But like, for example, every once in a while, they get one right. Like, I've played Navy SEALs. Horrible film. But I played that on the Amiga. I like that game. It's actually a pretty fun game. Sometimes they get them right. So, your mileage may vary on this particular offering. Moving back down the line here. Now, this is a game I've not played before. Dreamcatcher titles this one Ain't Nothing Like the Unreal Thing. This is a look at the Amiga game Unreal. Now, I am familiar with the
PC
the
shooter.
PC or Dreamcast. It was on every Unreal Tournament, was everywhere. But this is a wacky Amiga offering. He sort of compares it in the vein of sort of a Shadow of the Beast. And the graphics on this thing look luscious, I have to say, in terms of the way it looks. There's a lot of nice graphics in it, but I have to say I've never played this one, so this one I'm going to put on the list. It looks like my kind of game, running around with a dude with a sword, swinging on junk, they're jumping on crap, my kind of thing. So that one I'm going to definitely put in the fun to try. And then lastly, another homage, another dedicated game based on a film. This one, Judge Dredd.
This I have seen.
And the article, I'll be the judge of that. And now Judge Dredd, I thought was a dumb film.
It was,
it was based on the comic, which I also didn't read, but it was a real popular comic book, to be honest with you. But Dreamcatcher digs deep into this one. It's another game I don't usually play crap that don't interest me in terms of the actual source bag. You said you saw it?
I've seen the movie, yes.
What did you think?
It's garbage, but it's fun garbage.
Is it hot garbage?
No. It's fun.
Talk about
the different variations of Bomberman throughout the years have ranged really fun to kind of crappy.
Well, there you go. Someone sent me a note on this that said you could play on the Amiga version. You could play like 10 players or some crazy thing.
Yeah,
that's wacky. So I can't imagine getting that many people interested in playing it.
How can you get how many people?
Listen, man, what are you asking me? I don't know. But people love it. Again, not Bomberman, not my bag. It's a lot like a lot of people like that Super Puzzle Fighter, and so I don't
Oh,
like.
that stuff's great.
I mean, it's just another thing. I just don't. I'm not. It's not my thing.
But
I'm
how
not
can
saying
you
it's
get-
bad.
How can you get 10 people onto an Amiga?
You got
input
keyboards,
wise?
you got joysticks, you got serial ports with crap hanging out of them. You got people. I think one of the people have to just reinsert a disc over and over. You know what I mean?
No, not side 2, side 1, side 1.
Right.
Copy protect, copy
That's
protect.
That's right. You got there's a bunch of crazy crap going on to get that many people. Another item that we put out this past week, the ZX Spectrum podcast, R. Sinclair. Do you ever watch this thing?
Occasionally.
Me and the boat.
Occasionally, yeah.
We put out Checkered Flag.
I did not watch this.
Checkered Flag. Checkered Flag was the engine involved in this game was quite astounding in terms of the actual. Yeah, you know, one thing. It's funny. Just as a sidebar on the specky here, it's amazing to me how deep these games are. They really milked this. It's the European style of gameplay stuff. They're into the real deep stuff. Now, I'm not saying this is the deepest game, but I mean, if you look over the library stuff that we've done, it's not like the Atari 2600, brother. This is an advanced that they really get in there, and they've got a lot of stuff going on. It always blows my mind.
I will agree with that. I haven't played the Spectrum a ton.
Yeah.
But the games that I have played that are good games definitely have more going on than your typical game of the time.
Right.
So I'll agree with that.
Another little ditty me and the boat put out last week, and the boat sprang this on me, everybody. Insert this too last week, Aaron's Apple Association. So Boat went to an Apple store and he got a pack of flashcards. He paid top dollar, of course, and the flashcards, they're like postcards, and on them are pictures of various Apple properties. There's an iPod, there's an iPhone, there's an AirBook, there's one of those godforsaken plastic, fantastic iMacs, the ones I'm talking about. And he held them up to me just to get my reaction. I don't know what he was just to reach over, just rip them up or eat them or beat him up. I know. Hey, Boat loves that. Boat loves that stuff. So if you want to see me try to figure out what's going on, there you go. Now,
I mean, I see that every day.
Yeah, no kidding. We had a show, our sister show, ARG presents ARG Prevents Entertainment. That's what we do. ARG Presents. We are right now currently available for the viewing and listening audience. Pack-in games.
Yes.
And we covered
really a fun episode.
We covered the Atari 5200 and the Sega Saturn, one of the later packs of the Sega Saturn. Pretty fun. I had a good time on that one. I reintroduced myself to the large plastic tank that is the Atari 5200.
Yes.
And then lastly this week, and this was a lot of fun, I did a unboxing of the TRS-80 color computer mystery box, which I purchased from a fellow down in South Carolina, Greer, South Carolina. It's been well received and was even mentioned on the original gamer Steven Stroh Coco show. I don't know how into the Coco scene
I didn't. I have not listened to any Coco podcast.
Well, this is a video show where Steve gets a huge collection of wacky individuals, and all on video. The production on this thing must be off the charts because they've all got little video pictures on the screen, and they all chat. It's crazy time. They mentioned this on there, which I thought was nice.
It is nice of them.
Steven actually reached out to me, and I may be on one of their future shows as a guest. Now that I'm a Coco luminary, much like the Amiga, we played games in the Coco, and short of loading game, I don't know a whole lot more about.
You know way less about the Coco than you do the Amiga.
But I got we had a good time. I unboxed, filled this table full of Amiga goodies. And I'm happy to report that Amiga Coco goodies. I'm happy to report that the Coco 3 worked. I have gotten a multi-card in for the Coco 3, and now I'm playing the crap out of some Coco 3 action.
Yeah, it looked awesome. It looked like it was in pristine condition.
I'll show it to you later. In the house, I've got it hooked up. It'll blow your mind. So it was a lot of fun. I think that's pretty much covers us up for the news. I'd say going forward, we'll be you'll get another. There'll be another release of a Amigathon. It'll be hour 15. But if you'll recall that we lost several hours
Yes.
of footage at the end of the Amigathon where the gimmick ran out. Now, I can announce, I think I'm okay to announce this, that we have set a date for Amigathon 2019.
Yes.
Now, Boat will give you all the particulars when he returns next week, because Boat's the brains of this outfit. I'm like the weather girl. I come on, little cheesecake, and then Boat comes in he's the meat and potatoes. I'm the dessert, the tasty treat. But Boat will come in with all the particulars. But we can say that the Amigathon 2019 will be July 20th.
July
2019.
20th.
It gives me precious extra days for the Amigo Aaron weight loss wager. I'm still plucking along on the weight loss wager, and charities will make money any way it goes off the Amigo Aaron weight loss wager. If you want to get on that, go over to everythingamiga.com and have a look at the Amigo Aaron logo. Click on that. It will take you to how you can hop in and put money down on the big guy losing some weight. And all the money goes to a great cause, Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We make no dollar bill off this.
No.
In fact, I'd say there'll be a significant loss of dollar bill when the check comes due for the Miracle Network for old Amigo Aaron, because it was a wager. That was part of the deal. And so, but we'll see how that goes.
Have you learned something about gambling, Aaron?
I can't stop. I won't stop, as Miley Cyrus would say. So, with all that busy work out of the way,
Tied up into a nice little bow.
That's right. We're going to have a quick look here. Not quick. A deep, fulfilling look at this week's offering. No second prize. The selection committee has done it again, and they've pulled this one out of the ether, and we're going to talk about this one. So, no second prize. Have you played this one before?
I have.
And we played it at the Amigathon.
Yes.
Was it last year or 2 years ago?
I believe it was last year.
So this one, I was finally familiar with one of these things. This game came out in 1992 and was on one disc, published by Thalion Entertainment. Now, I think we all know everything there is to know about Thalion. What do you know about Thalion Entertainment? I'm going to tell you.
I can't even be sure I could spell the name.
Well, they're an awesome outfit, and I'll tell you why. These are the fine folks responsible for the all-time classic, the great, possibly the best game ever released on the Amiga, Lionheart. Lionheart. They published it. Now, it was developed by them as well. Amongst the games that they worked on, aside from, of course, the awesome game, they did Dragon Flight, Seven Gates of Jambala. I got to play that. And Warp. So it might be kind of fun to play that one too. This was. I looked up the people that worked this to see what they'd worked on in the past, which I do from time to time. This was coded by Christian Jungen. These are all names that are difficult to pronounce, of course. The people that did the graphics, the person, Thorsten Mutskjal. Is that Norwegian, you think? And
the way you pronounce it, I believe Cthulhu's outside.
Thorsten worked on some good stuff here, including Amber Moon, Neurotics, Sericon, Spherical. The music was a guy that we've heard from this guy before, Matthias Steinwasch. He did the music for Lionheart, Enough Said, Amber Moon, Misadventures of Flink, and a few others.
And this was
A320 Airbus.
So good in this as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. You also had working on this game Eric Simon. I can pronounce his name. He worked on a whole host of games from these guys: Amber Moon, Amber Star, Chamber of the Shaolin, that was kind of a neat game. Dragonflight, Enchanted Land, Last Ninja Remix, Leaving Thermos, Lionheart, of course, Seven Gates, Trek Warrior, Warp, and Wings of Death. Which we actually, didn't we have a look at? Was that the one we looked at on the Japanese computer? Was that it was Wings of Fury.
Yeah, I was going to say, no.
I was close.
No, we haven't.
I was close. This is ECS OCS, and again, it's a motorcycle game. Now, this was converted, I believe, from the Atari ST.
Yes.
So you've got an ST version of this now, and I recall these guys did a lot of ST work. So let's talk about this. Brandon, since you have been sitting there idle most of the time, give us your thoughts, your immediate thoughts when loading up this game. And also, I'm interested to know how you played this.
Oh, I played this with the Win UAE
right.
emulator, not having an Amiga of my own. I did run this on the 500 emulation.
Okay.
Because for me, on Amiga, man, you either have to play it on the 500 or the 1200. In my eyes, those are the only two options. So I went 500 to see if it could really push this much information and graphics on the slower, older system.
Right. That's the way to go.
And it was fantastic. It ran like a dream, an absolute dream. I was so impressed. I was ready for this to suck. I really was. Because I knew sort of what I was getting into. I knew it was a polygonal motorcycle racing game. And I thought to myself, as much as I love Stunt Car Racer, it is a low frame rate affair. So I kind of thought that was what I was going to be getting into with this game. And holy cow, no, quite the opposite. This thing runs at a solid 50 frames per second, and it has no hesitation. It is go, 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 speed all the way to the max.
That's true. It's funny when this game comes up. The intro for it is this: you don't know what's happening, and basically what happens is a camera follows a racer around the course in this opening thing, and it is quite a spectacular. Frontiers gets a lot of praise for its opening. This is I'm not gonna say it's equally as impressive, but it's in the ballpark in terms of the impressiveness of the opening. You've got the streaking effect that they put on the racer as he flies by, and I mean you've got to consider this is an Amiga running some pretty sophisticated three-dimensional graphics.
Yes.
And on top of everything else, you've got this.
Oh, the music is amazing.
It's funky, y'all. This is not what I would expect from a racing soundtrack. It's better. It's way better because it's different. You get something like it's sort of like if Parliament did music for a porno or something. I mean, it's funky. It's funky, it's driving, but it's great.
I think to me, I thought it had a futuristic feel to it.
It was a mixture. It was a different bag, But I love the bass in it. It was a great tune.
It's something you crank up. You really do.
Yeah. Now the guys over at Thalion, of course, you've got a bunch of guys, and we've covered them in the past, but you got a bunch of guys that were demo coders.
Yeah.
And I believe they coded on the ST. If I'm not mistaken. And of course, we've mentioned some of the Roberts and Lionheart being probably their strongest game. So you knew these guys had the tools and the talent to get something done. Now, I don't watch any motorcycle racing, and I've only been on a motorcycle one time, and so it's not my bag.
Sure.
So I was going into this, I was like, well, motorcycles, and it's okay. But I will give them credit. They did a lot of stuff that ticked boxes for me, which I'll get into. Now, one thing you'll notice right away when you load this game, it loads up these 3D graphics. This is not PlayStation level in terms of resolution. But what you get is the track looks solid. You can tell what stuff is.
It's clean.
It's clean, and the motorcycles and the racers are drawn in an odd way, I will say. And they look like almost like an icon. And they're thin, they're very thin. There's no depth.
They look like Tron bikes.
They do. They sort of do. Yeah.
And they do not go for realism in the bikes. They do not. It is the design is certainly function over beauty. Because, like you said, the bikes are way thinner than they would ever be in real life.
Right.
And they are made up literally of a one long rectangle.
But they work. I mean, you can tell what they are.
You can tell that they're bikers.
And
I'm willing
to get past that, considering how they move.
Oh, that doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all because it doesn't need to be hyper realistic.
So this game, once you get to the demo, you get set up to where you start looking at these options. Okay, so you've got practice mode.
Yeah.
You've got I played that one a lot, and you've got championship mode, load and save. Look at the high scores. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff.
Yes.
So this game has 20. There are like 20 races in championship mode, and as you go through these, your score is based on where you finish.
Yes.
So if you finish in the top 3 or 4, you get points, and then if you're at the bottom, which I always was,
if you're 6, you actually get a negative point.
Right.
Yes.
So you actually I thought that was funny that they took points away for sucking.
But it makes you try till the very end, because I mean, getting 5th is better than getting 6th.
Yeah. So you get to pick a rider. Okay, I like this. Now they did not pick real world people or even professional bike racers. I thought that was odd. You get because each racer, and I love this. This game does the detail work. That's one thing I love about it. So you get a little bio of the guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So for example, the first person I picked I picked this chick, French fashion designer. Yeah. Why? Why is she here? Why would you put her on the bike? You've got a Japanese person that runs a processor factory. Or they make chip manufacturing. Then you've got and this is the guy that I always played. I ended up settling on the Italian guy. He's sort of the Italian rich like snob guy. That's the guy I picked, and I'll explain why in a minute. Then you've got this British guy, and you've got a German. I did play the German a few times as well. And you've got the American guy. And the American guy plays like guitar or sax or something. He's like a rock guy. Again, why are these guys on this? Because it seems like you could get easily murdered on these tracks.
You spent far more time with the bios than I did.
I like that stuff. I like the fact that they took the time to write these wacky bios. Now, the one thing about the races, aside from their wacky bios, is that they play differently because they've got different stats. Some have a higher top speed. Some are tighter on curves. Some can take more damage, which I don't know how that works because it seems like we all take but the bikes was getting damaged. Assumably,
no, the player.
You say at the end of the race, if you get damaged out, your guy's all take him to the hospital. He's all mauled.
Sure.
I thought that was bike damage.
No, it's both. 2 meters.
Yeah. So once you've gone through here to pick this, you've got to pick your track. Now, the tracks in this era is a ton of tracks.
There is.
Now, it's funny because I was on Discord reading some people talk about this, and one of our Discord members has been on some of these tracks. Okay, he's literally raced on them. Some are near his home, and he hated the track. He said the tracks were nothing like the real tracks.
I didn't know they were supposed to be modeled after
they
real
are.
tracks.
Oh yeah. And one of the reasons I knew that is because we did a game a while back, and in fact, it was just the last Spectrum show mentioned a track that's in this game. So I was like, oh, look at that. There's some crossover in the tracks. Now, me and you don't know diddly squat about these tracks.
Not a thing.
But you've got these are real tracks and relays. And one thing I like about it is when you look at a track and you hit information, it gives you a full workup on that track.
Yeah,
it tells you what's dangerous. It tells you how it's perceived, how you should handle it to a certain degree. And it also will tell you if there's a crap load of junk on the track, which we'll get into in a minute. And so I like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Again, that's giving you detail instead of just sticking you out on an empty track. I thought that was cool. And also, this is all like the Infocom thing we talked about a while back. It gives you a little more food for thought when you're playing these games because they can't render everything.
Sure.
But they're like, here's what this track's like. And you're like, oh, okay. And also you can pick, what your, you can see what the top speeds and stuff on that track were and the top lap speed stuff. So you've got something to shoot for.
If I'm not mistaken, it stays the 3 highest speeds on the track and also the highest lap speed on track. So there's multiple things you can shoot for.
So you also then get the choice of a manual or automatic. You know where I went on this. I never played a manual because I'm no good at that. Now, from accidentally picking it once, it looks like you changed gears with the keyboard.
Yeah.
How
else would you do
that'd be tough. That'd be tough though. So then, and we haven't gotten to the cutesy part of this game, but we'll get into it now. So the next screen, you pick your mouse sensitivity. Why would you do that, Brent?
Well, to adjust mouse sensitivity, I would imagine.
Because this game is played entirely with the mouse.
I didn't know that's what you were going for. Sorry about that.
Entirely played with the mouse. Now let's sit back and ponder this for a moment. When we first played this game, I remember we loaded it up and I had no idea what was happening. It was baffling. We played this on my old Amiga. I think at the time, we had the 500. This must have been the first year I think we played this. And of course, we had the old Amiga mouse out there.
It sucked.
And it was unplayable.
Unplayable. 100%.
And now that I've got a better mouse for the Amiga, when I loaded this up, it still wasn't very good. So this is one of the few times I fully endorse and recommend emulating this game.
Okay. I understand what you're saying
now they've got these gimmicks, Brent, that will let you hook up a laser mouse to your Amiga, and other people have various means. There's also a gimmick where I've seen this bit where you can strip out the stuff out of a tank mouse and put the guts of a laser mouse in it, and you can use that, which would be kind of neat. Whatever the way you do it, that's fine. But for me, having and I've got several Amiga mice, but I knew which one I had was the best. I cleaned it up. This game was nigh impossible with the Amiga mouse, and it's because they're old and they're beat down. I emulated this with Amiga Forever. It ran perfectly, and the laser mouse for me is the way to play. I can't imagine playing this without a proper mouse. So there's that.
And I remember playing this with your Amiga mouse, the ball mouse, and it was awful. I mean, like you said, it was completely unplayable. It had no sensitivity adjustment was going to matter. It was just too crappy. But on a laser mouse, through emulation, played like a dream.
Now, I will say, just for fun, I tinkered with all the settings because when you're loading up the track, it gives you and which I do like this. It does this every time. It lets you change the sensitivity to your mouse. Mm-hmm. I believe it's a 1 to 5, and 3 is dead center. So I tried every sensitivity with the laser mouse, and it does make a big difference. Now, ultimately, I think I settled on 2. Okay, and the reason is if the mouse was too sensitive, it made me jumpy. I'd be all over the slightest movement will move your bike. Picture your bike like sitting straight up and down. And as you move the mouse left, the bike will tilt over and eventually lean over, depending on where you go over. The same thing on the right. So if the sensitivity is too high, for me, the bike would go like this a lot. I remember because I'd be trying to play this game, I'd be going crazy. So I like to turn the sensitivity down a little bit. That way the bike is a little more smooth and not as jumpy and jittery and bebopping around all over the track.
I'm quite the opposite.
Really, and the thing is, I played at a higher sensitivity, and there are advantages to playing at the higher sensitivity.
You get into the curves faster because how far you lean the bike is obviously how sharply you take the curve. Now I did a lot of tire squealing because of it, but I only moved my wrist maybe 4 or 5 degrees to get the entire movement of the bike, which was fine by me. It takes a gentle touch, but it's very, very doable.
It takes a steady hand, Striker. The mouse control in this is the meat of it. We should spend some time here. This was a interesting design choice. We've played Hang On. And there's a few, I think motocross something on the PC I used to have when I had the Banshee card. And these motorcycle games they're pretty good. This one, but they have conventional controls. I've never played a game that controls like this. And it's funny because you would think that the mouse control would be real wacky, but it's as simple. This game at its heart is as simple a game control-wise as you can get in terms of what you do. You've got the mouse there, you've got a button for accelerate, you got a button for brake, and you're moving it, which is perfect for an automatic transmission. It's perfect. Now, but the good thing is, since it's mouse-based, if you need to use the keyboard to shift gears, you've got that extra hand just sitting there. It's doing nothing, so it's no problem. So it's actually a brilliant control system.
Sure. Yeah, it's very functional.
There aren't that many games that use combinations of the mouse and keyboard in an action way. The one that comes to mind is Walker. Which I know Boat hated, but I think you liked it.
I loved Walker.
I did. when we agree on it, you know boat's
yeah.
wrong.
It was a good, Walker's a great game.
But this game, if it takes some getting used to. Let's put it that way. You're not going to sit down and immediately be successful at this game. And I think they knew that. And because they do some things to make the game approachably fun and not, I did not get anywhere close to getting all the way through this game.
Oh, you mean through all the tracks?
Yeah.
No,
but I played most of the tracks, but there are tons of tracks.
Yes.
So you've got the mouse and your race starts. Okay. When you take off, and you'll notice this right away, the other racers shoot off, and it's most that aspect
you can
of
catch
it.
them.
You can, but they shoot off at the beginning, and so that aspect is a lot like a pole position or something else, and you're off trying to catch them. It's not that tough if you're good or you're quick. And then as you go through the game, you're going to see the racers that you need to be concerned with are
colored.
Primarily colored.
Yeah.
Then you've got like what I like to call it the dud racers, the drones, the flunkies.
Yes.
And they're just sort of a real low brown or gray, you know. They're just out there just to be taking up space. Now, I appreciated this element of gameplay because I often would fall way behind, and so it did make me feel good if I could at least overcome one of these losers as I tried to catch up with the pack. I will say, the game to me, and I'm not a racing genius, but to me the game is balanced pretty well because I could wreck several times and still have the ability to catch up with the end of the pack to try to make some headway. And occasionally I would eke out a place, and almost always from behind. I never took off and just ran roughshod. That never happened in any game. But one of the reasons I picked the Italian guy is because his top speed was not that high. Because I learned early on that I should not be allowed to have a super fast bike. Because I would do what every dumb guy does and hold the accelerator down the entire time, hit those curves, and wipe out. So it helped me to pick someone with a lower top speed with better handling, better control, because I needed to help. And it does matter, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Who did you often pick and why?
The guy that had all the stats cranked all the way up except for the curves.
And why him? Just because you want to go as fast as possible?
Because I always like guys who have fast acceleration, and he had fast acceleration, fast top speed, and I figured I can handle the corners on my own.
You had a lot more confidence than I did in the corner handling. So these tracks range from kind of tough to like, good God, who would put a vehicle on this? It's insanity level. I tried some of each. I didn't get to play every single track because there's so many, but I played a lot of them. And I preferred tracks that I didn't have to do much curve negotiating on because it was so hard for me. But it's another thing that once you get the feel of it, it's a lot like any other racing game. You accelerate, you break into the curves, you come out of the curve, accelerate again. A lot of it, track memorization will help you. I ran the first and second track so many times that eventually I understood, okay, I need to slow it down here, I need to speed up here. The good thing is, this game has an on-the-screen map that shows where you're at. It shows the track. Those are I love those. And it's not something you saw all the time in this era of racing game. And I appreciate that. And since all the other races were of different colors, you could follow, you knew exactly where they were, who the leader was, because it was important as you were watching points. Oh, crap, I don't want this guy to win. And you're hoping that even if you can't win the race, that they're not going to win. So I like that element of it, too. As you go around these tracks, you will occasionally or unoccasionally have a wreck. And it often occurs when you hit another racer. That was my number one thing.
Wreck out in the curve.
Now, this, and I want you to talk on this here in a minute, this is where mouse sensitivity plays a big factor that I found out. Your ability to get back in the race, every time you have a wreck, you almost inevitably end up facing the wrong way.
Sure.
Because in this game, you're not really wrecking. You're just, I guess that they're simulating you hitting something and sort of sliding around the bike, like laying it down.
Right.
All right. And so your job is to get back up and get back in the race. And this isn't the kind of game where you're going to go the wrong way and try to cause wrecks. It's just not
No.
Indy 500. You want to get back in the race as quickly as possible. I noticed that when I had a mouse with a higher sensitivity, I could swing the bike back around a lot quicker and get back in the race. That's one place that having a lower sensitivity set, and as far as I could tell, it cost me valuable seconds of getting back up. And this game, I will say, it is demoralizing to have these wrecks because if you had any sort of place in a race, you're almost assuredly going to be losing a lot of space.
Well, I mean, does a higher sensitivity help on that? Yeah, because you can, the bike pegs out one way or the other as how far you can turn it. Just like a real motorcycle. You can't, lay the bike all the way down and then turn. It only swifts between, 5 or 6 different frames of animation to how far you lean the bike.
Right.
So when you're facing the wrong way or something happens, having a higher sensitivity does allow you to get to the extreme faster, which will let you get back on the track faster.
Yeah.
Now, all of that said, the downside of it is when you are passing losers, the no-name people on the track, they usually come at you in pairs and to take up more track space. So having a high sensitivity makes it very difficult to get around them because you just need to edge around to get past them but still be on the track. And if it happens on a curve or something, it makes it that much more difficult. But I think the higher sensitivity is just worth it. I felt like I had more control because I was never whipping the mouse. I was never using my arm to control the mouse. It was always wrist movement.
Well, you definitely have more precise control. That's for sure. But for me, it made it too jittery. Because one of the fun parts of this game is when you're careening down the highway here, and you've got all these guys in your way, and you could come real close to them, and you're weaving in and out. The mouse gives you an interesting feeling. It seems more realistic for some reason to me to use the mouse in this game. It really did, because you got a nice feeling of going down there, and you can make these subtle little moves. And I'm sure if you're a big race nut and you know about race lanes and all this other jive that I don't pay attention to,
right,
you can have those precise race lanes. And another thing this game will do is let you go venture off the track.
Sorta.
Well, you can.
Yeah, not in a good way.
Now, you bounce around like an idiot. It slows you down. And you're also, sometimes there's crap on the side of the road. There's trees and buildings. Another thing I kept hitting was the grandstand.
Yep.
Or the thing, the archways that they have on the tracks. And the thing is, when you hit those, it mauls you.
Yeah, you take a ton of damage.
Now, we haven't talked about this, but as you're not just racing against other racers, you're also trying not to destroy your bike. It's sort of a la stunt car racer.
Yes.
You've got a limited amount, although this is going to take a lot of damage. You got a limited amount of damage you can take, which means if you wreck over and over and over, that builds up. Now, different racers can take more damage than others. I know, for example, the first girl I tried, which was the fashion design chick, she couldn't take that much damage, and so I was just gone pretty quick because I had tend to ran into everything. It's funny when you're trying to get around stuff when those grandstand stuff will come up on you quick. This game doesn't move slowly, and so you've got to get off the side of the road, and at all costs, and you're veering back on. Yes, I'm the guy that's out in the grass a lot. I do that quite a bit.
The speed of this game is remarkable. It's by far the best aspect of the game. Now
and it ran pretty well with the 5.
Oh yeah,
I ran on the 12. And of course, I sucked, but it ran great. So let's talk about the other thing you have to worry about in the track, and these are track obstacles. It's funny. Most of the time I played this in practice mode. And so I would pick tracks way up, that you shouldn't be starting off with the real harder stuff. And the first track I played had crap loads of obstacles on it. So you've got a couple different types of stuff that could be in the race. First, you got debris, which presumably someone's bike got smashed, and it's just there's crap laid out in the track. They haven't got around to getting it. They never get around to getting it. And the other stuff is oil on the track. Okay, if you hit these things, that I will say they look weird. It look almost like you're right over landmines. The representation of the obstacles is goofy.
Abstract.
Yeah. If you hit these, you're boned. There is no. It's like hitting another bike. And the thing is, this stuff can be thrown everywhere, and so you're going. It's there to increase the difficulty, and it works. Because it's hard to get around some of this stuff, man. It's real tough to dodge it. So the tracks that had a ton of that stuff, they weren't my favorites. Like I went to do those over and over when I played the game. We mentioned the music. I thought the sound effects in this were pretty good.
They were okay. The engine roars and the tire squeals
were
all decently represented.
When you wreck, it's just sort of a low thud, and then some, wheel spinning. It's nothing major. Again, when you run these races, the lappage vary from what I could tell. Some were like 6 and some were 4.
They're too long.
I was going to say, that's a problem I have with this game. I don't necessarily want to go around a track 6 times.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to go around it.
They were too long.
I want to go around it once or twice, maybe 3 times, but not 6. Now I know this is the strict rules of bike racing.
Most bike races are hundreds of laps.
Well,
but it's a compound thing too. The tracks themselves are of decent length, which I appreciate, but having to go around them 5 times.
They're real long. Some of them are super long.
Oh, yeah, they're decent length. But having to go around them 5 times, I was in one or two camps when I played. I was either so far ahead that it didn't matter, and the computer players might as well, the other opponents might as well not have been there, or I was so far behind it didn't matter.
Yeah.
The balance of difficulty was not there for me. I never felt challenged.
Really?
Yeah, I either never felt challenged by the computer players, or I was so far behind that I was never going to catch them.
I thought the balance was okay. I mean, I felt like, listen, we're a different type of players. You're probably way ahead on a lot of these. For me, I was often playing catch up. In fact, almost every race. But I could catch up and sometimes get a place, as opposed to getting smacked.
If I did bad on a track, I did really bad on a track.
Yeah, I would destroy most of what got me out was my bike being destroyed.
Well, and if you get to that point, you're so far behind it doesn't matter anyway.
You'd be surprised how far you can come back, though.
Not me, man.
You can come back.
If I was bad at a track, man, I never got better. I don't know why.
Something we should mention is when you get killed on one of these tracks, when your bike's damaged, you're not killed, but you're out. It makes you sit there while the race finishes in super speed, so you have to watch the track.
You can escape out of it.
You can't. I couldn't escape out of it. Wouldn't let me do it.
Can.
I just sat there and watched them finish. It didn't take that long, but it's still wacky. Of course, you have to say. Of course, you're the loser. You're not getting any points. I like the championship racing aspect of it. I think it's pretty well done.
It's okay.
I like. Of course, you get lap times and overall time, stuff like that. And you can go back. One thing you can do on the stat screens is go back through all the information that's been obtained as you've played, which is pretty cool. Of course, it'll save all your statistics and what. Overall, this game to me comes down to, do you like the controls? You can't complain. Something we should mention is when you're racing, there are some slight elevations. It's not
just flat all the time.
I would like to have seen that. I guess that's a limitation of what the engine they were using, where they didn't have a huge. But of course, maybe it's just the tracks don't have these big elevations. But I kind of like that in games. Even in the ZX Spectrum game, Checkered Flag, they've got elevations that are more well rendered, I think, than they were in this. Something else this has got is an instant replay feature, which is cool. Something else that threw me off is when there's a helicopter that flies around. I thought that was pretty cool.
The helicopter follows first place. So if you're in first place, you don't get to see the helicopter. But if you're
see it at the beginning, though.
Yeah, but if you come up on the people, you can see the helicopter following the lead guy. I thought that was actually pretty neat.
I want to mention that our good buddy, when I was researching this game, sure enough, and I love when this happens. When I was doing some research to find some stuff out about this game, one of the first things that came up was on our own website. And, of course, it was our good buddy, the Duncan Stiles, who wrote a tremendous review of this game. I highly recommend if you go to everythingamiga.com and check it out. And he echoes a lot of what we've said. It's real good stuff. And he gets into it deep. You can tell these guys, a lot of the Europeans are really into this stuff.
Right.
So, it is what it is. So it runs great. It plays well. Apparently, the ST version is eerily similar visually. So no big deal. I'm going to read some of the user reviews here. You pop over and grab that for me. We had a bunch of different reviews on this, which is awesome. Let me just grab a couple here. So Chris Folds writes in, a technical marvel of a game, fast 3D vector bike action with a modern mouse control, and it controls very well. However, and this is, I knew this was going to come up, the track representations are not good. No elevation, and the actual layouts and interpretations of the real tracks are interpretations of the real tracks rather than the real tracks, which angered me beyond belief. He gave it a 6 out of 10. That killed it for him. Of course, the Dunk chimed in. Of course, he wrote the review. I love this game. I doubt you will see a faster 3D on a standard Amiga 500. I agree with that. From the opening intro, you know you're in for something special. I agree with that too. I can forgive its track inaccuracies because it's just so well polished and so much fun. And I suspect the lack of elevation is due to coding trickery that enables this game to run so fast. I would guess that's probably right. I love this game. 9.5 and nah, screw it. 10 out of 10, he says. The dunk. He's down with the clown on this one. Pixels at Dawn chimes in. Amazing slick and smooth graphics. Even on an A500, I can't believe how well this runs. The bike simulation is great, but I found the game a bit repetitive because other than going around the circuit as well as you can, there's no pit strategy, etc. to deal with. Fun for a while, but I couldn't play this for a whole season. 7 out of 10. That's true. There are no tinkering with the bike, that sort of stuff. This is strictly, this is arcade racer with a mouse. Our buddy Graham W. Vebke. A fast-paced racing game which plays well once you get used to the tuning mechanics. The tracks do all feel quite similar with little variation, and this affects the long-term replayability. I prefer the Atari ST version as it seems to be smoother and the music is a bit more 8-bit SID style than the Amiga, but the Amiga has better engine sound. 7 out of 10. I really like the music in this personally, but I guess that's just because I'm an Amiga guy. And finally, our good buddy Lobsterminator. This is a first impressions review. I had never played this before this week. The graphics are really smooth with my 030 at least, and the mouse controls feel great. This is the kind of game where you could take the lead and one mistake or crash can set you back to last place. That's a fact. The slow fodder opponents add a nice extra obstacle compared to more realistic racing games. From what I played, the difficulty seems challenging but not frustrating, and I could definitely see the young me getting into this if I had played this back then. 8 out of 10. I think those are all fine reviews, and they all made some good points. So let's see how this thing reviewed in the Amiga publications.
I'm going to assume very well.
Amiga Action gave this a 91%.
Yeah.
Very good. Amiga Computing gave it a 90. Amiga Format, 80%. They weren't as fond of it. Amiga Power, 84. CU Amiga, 90. And the One gave it a 91%. And Lemon liked it a little bit more than most of these guys, although not the 8.06 out of 10. I'd say this is in terms of racing games I've played on the Amiga, we've played quite a few. The Boat 9, you've played some. Mm-hmm. I think this is nearer the top than it is the middle. It checks the boxes. A lot of fun detail. It's arcadey. It's got interesting control method, which I like. It's something you can't really play on hardly anything else. It's got great music and sound, and it's visually very impressive. So I actually enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. Again, this reminds me of just when we play stuff like sports games that I'm not familiar with. So it's something that comes out of nowhere. This is a sport that I don't follow, I don't care about, I don't know anything about it, but they managed to make it fun. And a big chunk of that's the speed and the controls.
Well, I agree. For a racing game, this is a really high-ranking one for the Amiga. This is not something I would go back and play a lot of. And it's because of the controls. Not that the controls are bad. Mm-hmm. It's just not a way I enjoy controlling a racing game.
What would you have preferred?
For the Amiga, nothing. I like analog steering wheel controls for driving games.
Well, okay, but with that not being an option, is there? Would you rather have to use the keyboard? Or?
Yes. The mouse, I don't know. It's a very fatiguing thing to maintain such fine control, especially due to the track length, where you really have to concentrate for the whole race, and making just so fine movements. And of course, I could have turned my sensitivity down some, made it so it wasn't so precise. I tried that to allow myself a more relaxed position while I controlled it, but then I just did poorly. Those are the times I can never catch up.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to have it super tight controls, which made it very tense while I was doing it, which meant being that tense for that many laps was very fatiguing.
I agree. And the lap thing, that not being able to set the laps, I think that's the downfall of this because I didn't like to play that many laps. I agree.
Yep, 100%.
I think championship mode would be great if you could set the laps.
Yes.
And I know the thing is it takes you out of that simulation thing. But listen, I just want to play some arcadey. And the thing is, there's so many tracks. Just play a couple laps per track. I know people.
Yes.
I know the hardcores are shaking their fists.
I know. I 100% agree.
I'm just not a hardcore. I want to go to a next track.
Yes.
And the tracks, there were big differences. I mean, and even the decor was a little bit different, but for the most part, they had some decor. It looked okay. You know, it was okay. So, but overall, I liked it. I looked this up on eBay, Brinster. These were going for a few bucks. I found in the UK, $76, and in Italy, $111 they want for this. In Poland, you can get a box copy with the disc that's bad, $34. So I thought that was amusing. So overall, I give this pretty high marks. And again, kudos for the speed and the ability to render that on a stock Amiga. I find that quite interesting.
Yes, yeah, that was really impressive. The speed was really impressive.
So do you want to say hi to some of the people in the chat today?
We have got a mixed crew, as always.
A mixed crew? What does that mean?
We got Loftinator X, Necronom, Picard, Honored Shadow, Duncan Styles, Graham, of course, made it to chat. Free Lunch stopped in for a little while. Mohawk Mall, Samwise made an appearance today. And then I run out of chat room.
Wow, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good crowd here today. So with the Boatster not around, we're going to forego the singing of our national sponsors. What, do you want to... You're going to sing?
No.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want to lose sponsorships.
We don't. So if you want to...
You know what I'll do?
Yeah.
Just so everyone can still make a guess at what this week's song was.
Okay.
I will sing 4 notes of a song.
Okay.
All right.
So you're going to. This is the
This is the name that tune.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Dun 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 dun.
Well,
that's what you get.
I don't know what that is. I'll be honest with you.
Dun 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 dun.
That's.
Can
something.
you do it, folks?
Is that a? Can you give us a hint on that?
What do you mean?
So
it's a song.
Okay,
it's a popular song.
I don't know.
Dun 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 dun.
We should re-mention a few things before we check out today.
All right.
Again, Amigo, our Amiga-thon 2019 is scheduled, and we don't have a start time yet. Boat will fill in the details, but again, it should be coming up July 20th, yes. 2019. That means I have about a month left on the Amigo Aaron weight loss wager. And if you want to get in on the weight loss wager, you can go to everythingamiga.com, click on the Amigo Aaron weight loss wager picture, and it will take you to where you can sign up, give you some details, and give you an email address. All the money for the Amigo Aaron's weight loss wager goes to the Children's Miracle Network, which will be raising money for on the Amiga-thon. I'm not sure the hours of that, but I'm guessing we'll probably start pretty early Eastern Standard Time, and Boat will get all that wrapped up when he gets in. Boat should be back in the saddle next week. And you'll be relegated back to the C show.
Back to the bottom, folks.
What's up? Are you happy to be back in our old Amigos studio this week?
Well, we're not in the old. Oh, you mean the?
Yeah. See, don't ruin the illusion, you dipstick. You set him up and he just fumbles. My God, man.
I feel like Leon Lett.
No, you had to go there, didn't you?
So, but yeah, it's I always like coming over and playing some Amiga stuff. I really don't. Amiga's not something I go to for my day-to-day emulation enjoyment.
Yeah.
But it's always fun to be introduced to a game or reintroduced to a game and get to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, Amiga's got some great stuff.
I was going to ask you if you had the emulator installed. Do you play a lot of Amiga stuff?
I don't. Mostly I do arcade stuff for my emulation, and of course the old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, my childhood.
Now this is the 4th time we've had you sub for Boat, I believe.
It's something like that.
Now, do you recall the games that we did in the past? We did Jurassic
Dark Seed.
This was there another time?
I believe that was it.
Okay, where does this rank on amongst the 3?
Well, this was definitely more fun to play than Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But Darkseid, man, that's a tough game to beat. I think Darkseid's probably going to be the top for a
You
long
really
while.
like Darkseid.
I did.
And no one
It was
ever
a fun
talks about that
adventure.
game. And so
It was a fun adventure.
it was more fun than it had any right to be. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'd like to thank, of course, our Patreons.
Yes.
We appreciate everything you guys do, and you've paid for effectively all this equipment that we're using right now, and we appreciate it. We definitely try to use that money in a positive way. It helps the show. And we've got some more stuff coming. And Bo, of course, good Lord, he's got a bunch of crazy stuff going on over there. So I'm looking forward to the Amigathon. Next week, we're going to be doing a couple public domain games, Brent. Well, you won't be, but me and the boat will. We're doing, I believe, it's funny, I just got this information right before we came on, and I don't remember what one of them was, but I know I know we're doing 2 public domain games, so we'll just leave it at that. We'll surprise people. Next week is another round of public domania, or as Boat likes to say, public domination, which I think that's much lamer, but that's what Boat likes to do. So, thanks for everybody in the chat for showing up and putting up with me and Brent. Some of these poor folks have put up with us for several hours now, and so we personally apologize for that. For all those daddies out there, we are recording this on Father's Day, so hey, happy Father's Day. It's tough to be a dad, isn't it, Brent?
Hey, go do something nice for yourself. Go pick up a console or game that that you've always wanted, even if it's something modern. Have a good day today.
No Second Prize is a good daddy game. Fire that thing up, sit down. That's something my dad would get into. Just go speeding around. Or, since we mentioned it, go play some Walker. Getting that sucker just blow away geeks. That's the way you do it. We will catch you guys on the flip side. And until next week, adios.
Your hand clipped out of frame.
All right. That's okay. They know. That's where the void. That's where the void is.
You're waving at the people at the window.
Hey, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everyone, and hanging out. I don't know how many people hung out with us the whole time, but I'm sure a few people did, and putting up with our nonsense for today. Well, that was fun. Did you have a good time playing those?
I respect that No Second Prize. First of all, great title, as I've said before.
Yeah, I like that.
I really enjoyed the title.
Yeah.
And I respect that it did things on the Amiga that were pretty groundbreaking at the time. The speed of the game is amazing. It just mouse controls for driving, man, ain't me.
I kind of dug it. I got into it. We got lucky. It's been threatening to rain all day here at Amiga Studios, and we got lucky. I think we got through this without any major rainstorm.
It's coming.
I know. And I was going to mow today, so that's what I get for being lazy. I've been saying that for weeks. I need to mow the backyard. It's taking over. But I will do my best. I hate to do any work on Father's Day. I just want to be a bum.
I hate to do any work.
I want to have a big meal today. But I know it's coming. I've got to keep the ball going. But I would like to have a nice meal today. I've been a good boy. I'd like to have something that's not Jell-O, for example. I'm so sick of Jell-O. I can't even tell you. Jell-O and raisins. I've had my fill. Well, we're going to take us to the house, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will. I'm hoping to get this thing processed and stuck up in the morning. That's when Boat usually releases it, so I'm going to do my best. But thanks again, guys, and Boat will be back next week, and we will kick it off on Friday at the usual time.
Have a good one, guys.
Adios.